And we're back on another emergency POD cast. I think this one's just going to be a live stream though. I don't think it's going to go out in the feed. So we're just here live streaming on Twitch, on YouTube. Get your stuff in. Come hang out because we've got some news to break for you guys here. I'm Christopher Fett at Christopher Fett on Twitter. Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit Online, and the Green Ranger of Pride of Detroit, Jerry Mallory at Jerry NFL. Or NFL Jerry.
Jerry Mallory NFL.
Jerry Mallory NFL. I'm sorry. I'm waking. It's
Those
early
are all
for me.
wrong, but close.
I tried to shoot at least above the Mendoza line. Yeah, it's early for me. But we've got news early on for everyone in that the Lions, we're here to talk about the Lions deciding not to franchise tag Kenny Golladay. This is the report out from Tom Pelissero, I think, had the first report, Jeremy.
Yep.
That the Lions do not, that he has a source says the Lions do not plan to franchise tag Kenny Golladay, which means he's going to hit the open market. Background for people who don't know, Kenny Golladay, reports were coming out earlier this week too, that last year Kenny Golladay turned down somewhere between $18 million and $19 million contract on the average per year on his extension last year with Bob Quinn as the general manager. Now the team decides not to franchise tag him. So we just go around the horn and give thoughts. So I'll start, as always, with Fearless Leader.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot in the last couple of weeks, and I think all of us, as we saw the salary cap situation a little more dire maybe than we thought at first, saw kind of the writing on the wall here. Excuse me. A franchise tag, is worth essentially about $16.4 million. We still don't know the specific of it because they haven't set a salary cap, which means they haven't set franchise tag numbers yet. But that's a big amount for a one-year deal for a team that's rebuilding, for a team that probably is not competing in 2021. And so the real question on my mind was, will the Lions be able to get a long-term deal done, or are they not interested in that and moving on? And like you said, the $18 million, $19 million deal that Kenny Golladay reportedly turned down last year kind of gives you a sign of where he thinks his own value is. Maybe that has dropped since, only playing 5 games last year. Maybe it's dropped since the salary cap is dropping. But overall, it didn't seem like it would make a lot of sense for the Lions to pay him upwards of that amount. Maybe he's looking for $20 million a year. And to be clear, go get your money, Kenny. There's probably a team that's going to be willing to pay you $20 million a year. And if that's the case, go get it. The Lions just aren't in a position to be one of those teams to be doing it, because by the time this team is competing, he's probably going to be over 30, and you don't want to be paying 21, 23, 22, whatever million dollars it is to keep him around. So it'll suck to see him go. And to be completely clear, it's not 100% sure he's hitting free agency. The Lions could theoretically strum up a deal in the next 5 or 6 days here. But when you don't franchise tag someone, that's usually a pretty good sign you don't have any intentions of signing them long term, because it would give the Lions a little bit of leverage there. So all intents and purposes, he's going to hit free agency. He's probably not going to be a Detroit Lions anymore, and it sucks, but I think it's the right move.
Yeah, it's we'll go to Jerry first before I give my thoughts. Jerry, your thoughts on all this right now? This is definitely, as Jeremy laid out, I think the cap situation just became reality. This wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on. You got the cap situation. You got the trajectory of this team. Now, Kenny Golladay is young enough, but there's a few things going on. Now, I'm a little shocked he wasn't franchised, just because, the possibility of maybe tagging and trading him. Although we don't see tag and trades that often. I think that's something that we hoped for, but it's not as common as you would expect, especially with the wide receiver market kind of being open. Teams have a lot of options just to sign someone outright. But I am a little shocked that we didn't do it, but it's not surprising. I think at the end of the day, I wasn't expecting Kenny Golladay to be here. Like Jeremy said, we could still sign a long-term contract, but I figured his time here was done. The other thing we have to factor in, perhaps Brad Holmes and company was right when they said, we want to bring back Golladay and Okwara. And Kenny just said, I kind of see the direction of the team. I want to go somewhere else. I can get paid similar money and be on a team that's more competitive. So who knows what type of conversations they may have had. If Kenny Golladay just wanted to play for a different team and he expressed that, maybe they didn't even want to go through the process of tagging him and trying to trade him or forcing a guy to be here that doesn't want to.
Yeah, for me, I agree with everything you guys say. For me, I kind of made the analogy on this is that the Lions have there. I just never saw the logic in bringing back Kenny Golladay to begin with because it just didn't fit what this team is doing or the financial or even competitive realities of this team. This is like if you had just filed for bankruptcy and you still wanted to go to like Ruth's Chris on the reg. Like what were you doing? You're going to spend close to 20 million on a wide receiver in a year when you're trying to shed salary, clear out room so you can be competitive in a couple of years. Like what it it seemed like it was going backwards. I would have been fine if they signed him to a contract because then you could backload a lot of the cap money and you could figure out something long term for him. But to franchise tag him would be a 1 year deal for what? Like I don't. We've seen franchise tags blow up in guys' face before. It's not always a good sign. It's like, hey, we're holding you around and we can negotiate you for another year. Sometimes guys get the franchise tag and they're like, you did that to me. I mean, it's a great thing to do to a guy because they're getting paid top money for their position, but at the same time, it also means you've kept them off the market from getting a longer term contract and made them have to risk their health in another year before getting that longer term contract. And some of them can and do in the past resent you for franchise tagging them. So as much as I think we would have all liked to see Kenny Golladay stay in Detroit, it just wasn't. It didn't make sense financially. It didn't make sense to Kenny Golladay himself, and it didn't make sense to where this team is headed right now.
For sure. I do think we should talk about the downside though here, outside of losing a really good player. I mean, now you look at this offseason, and the Lions arguably have lost their top two players, period. Kenny Golladay and Matthew Stafford. That doesn't send a great message throughout the rest of the organization in terms of keeping players that are talented, in terms of competing in 2021, which, I mean, we all know the reality of where this team is right now, but you still, I mean, Dan Campbell still has to stir up a pregame speech for these guys in September. He still has to get these guys motivated. In a couple of weeks, he's still going to have to try to convince players to come here to play in 2021, which looks like already a lost season, and that's not going to be an easy sell, especially when you don't have a lot of cap money. And it's going to be the thing I just want to make clear is this is not an easy decision. We may have all favored at this point and seen the writing on the wall and all that sort of stuff, but it's not an easy decision because you are parting ways with a talented player. I've already seen Quandre Diggs kind of do the quote tweet the news with like a little face, like, oh boy, when Lions are up to it again. And that might be sour grapes from a guy like Quandre Diggs, but it's also the perception that the Lions have right now, right? Like, the perception of this franchise forever will be, maybe not forever will be, but it's certainly been for the past couple of years, they don't hold on to talent or they screw the talent that they have up. Whether it be Matthew Stafford or Barry Sanders or Calvin Johnson, it's that you get these talented guys, you don't get enough out of them, and then they're gone. And this will add to that legacy. And again, to be clear, we're all in favor of the move, but it's not a great optics move, and it was a tough one that Brad Holmes had to make.
I will say,
especially looking at 2021.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna say that from talking with former Lions myself, a few of them that I've met, like it's been going on longer than a couple of years too, like that reputation. But that's ultimately what you have to rebuild. I just think Kenny Golladay is ultimately. It's not a slight, I would say, on Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. It's just that it's the lingering effect from the Boston boys, from Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. It's like, look, we just wasted kind of his rookie contract with these guys, and that left a sour taste. And no player, it hurts their legacy to be sitting around waiting for a team to rebuild. Some guys don't have patience like that, especially in this day and age where contracts are sometimes tied to team performance as much as individual performance.
I'm kind of wondering too, how much was it, when he turned down that 18, 19 million last year? I mean, how much more was he expecting to get? Was he expecting to get 21, 22, or did he just not want to continue with the Lions, especially with that old regime? If it was a different regime, maybe Campbell and Holmes, and they offered him 18, 19 million last year, I got a feeling he may have taken it. if he liked the situation, because realistically, even before we knew the cap would go down, if he was to hit the open market, maybe he would have got 20. What's the difference between 1 million? I think a lot of this has to do with Kenny Golladay not wanting to play for Patricia and Quinn. And then this season, just maybe not being a part of that rebuild. He's in his prime. Maybe he wants to get paid similar money, but go somewhere he can, compete right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, to Galladay's credit, he said all the right things during the offseason, and really towards the end of last year, he said, Detroit's a special place. I give them credit for drafting me. They'll always have a special place in my heart. Even after the Dan Campbell press conference, he jumped on Good Morning Football. Was like, yeah, dude, that guy's got me excited to play in Detroit. And like he was sounding like he was coming back, like he was all prepared to come back. Maybe that's just him kind of media facing, just make sure he's leaving all options for himself on the table in case the Lions threw a great deal in his favor. Maybe you're right. Maybe he wasn't ready for a rebuild all over again, even though he's still pretty young into his career. Asking for rings at 28 might be a little bit much of an ask, but we don't know. The thing is, we don't know. Brad Holmes has certainly kept quiet on the situation. Kenny Golladay has kept pretty quiet on the situation. And so maybe we get news that comes out saying, Holmes was just ready to move on, or they both mutually agreed to depart. I don't know. It's just something that we're going to maybe have to wait and see if we ever get any sort of detail. But I think we can all agree that it makes sense for both sides to maybe split here.
If you're in
losing
Twitch
Stafford
chat,
doesn't help either.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, I think speaking of that, I was just going to say, if you have some questions in Twitch chat or YouTube chat, by all means, get them in. I am reading chat right now. I think someone did bring that up, is the question of, hey, is anything affected by he's not playing with Stafford? Probably. Losing a quarterback connection is always hard. I don't think that's a slight on Goff. It's just that, Kenny Golladay, I think we've talked about it in the past, though, that Kenny Golladay likes being, kind of that deep threat, and and you're not really going to have that around with Goff right now. So plenty of places to go shop yourself around. Now, I want to ask you guys, kind of going outside the Lions, where do you think he could potentially, knowing what he might want to ask, where could you see him potentially landing?
I haven't even thought about that. I'd have to look at everyone's salary cap situation. I mean, anybody's going to want him. The question is how much of a bidding war is there going to be for him. It's not the greatest year to hit free agency. I think we all know that. I think everyone's trying to get just under the cap at this point. But I do think there's going to be a market for him out there. We've seen players of his caliber potentially get first round picks in a trade. So I think he's going to get very, very near the number that we've talked about since last year, which is in the 18 to 20 million range. I think he does end up getting that somewhere. So you have to find a team with enough cap space and even a moderate need at wide receiver. And I think they snatch him up in a second.
I can see Jacksonville. They have a ton of money. Now they're kind of in a rebuild too. We don't clearly know Kenny Galladay's aspirations. Is it just money? Is it going to a contender? There's probably some lore with potentially playing with Trevor Lawrence, and Jacksonville has a ton of money. I can see Allen Robinson being an option there too. He played there. And then I guess Chicago, I don't know their full situation, just because Kenny Golladay is from Illinois. That could be a potential factor. If they lose Allen Robinson, they're going to need a top receiver, and he's from there. So, yeah, I'm like Jeremy. I would have to look at the landscape of the other teams, but I know Jacksonville has a ton of money, and I know Chicago is, he's from Illinois, and they might lose their top receiver.
And speaking of that and Allen Robinson, I want to clear up something real quick, since I said I am looking at chat. Blue Mutt asks, Allen Robinson's bio says Detroit versus everybody. Could he come to Detroit? I want to clear that up. Allen Robinson was born in Detroit. He grew up in Detroit. He's a Michigan kid. That's why it's Detroit versus everybody. It's not him tipping his hand that he's coming to Detroit. So clear that up real quick before we get on that.
Let's talk that though. Let's talk about what the Lions do at receiver now, because they officially announced the Tyrell Williams signing today. That's the one guy that we're sure will be on the roster in 2021, and that's it. That's legitimately it. And so does
and Quintez Cephas.
I guess Quintez Cephas is almost guaranteed as well. But does this lock? I mean, I've already seen some people say locked in wide receiver, 7th overall pick. No question. Like that. That's happening for sure now. I see both of you shaking your head. No?
Nope.
No,
Because there's this. I think that is the deepest position in this draft, and we've talked about it before. Like,
bingo.
you don't need to pick seventh for the wide receiver. Either you could trade back and still get a decent wide receiver in the first round, or there's probably some day two receivers out there that would just be as serviceable. I mean, getting someone like a Waddle or even a Kyle Pitts. I know he's a tight end, and we're gonna laugh at Ryan again, but getting just a receiving threat in the draft. I'm not saying the Lions won't do that. I'm just saying that I still see multiple possibilities for this team that they will take, that, it's not a for guaranteed locked in. Now, if you're doing mock drafts out there where you're not trading down or not moving teams around, if you're doing that kind of mock draft, I would say absolutely. Yeah. Like at 7, you go, like, if you're mocking the Lions, you're probably mocking them to take a wide receiver. But I think in reality, when you're looking at all 7 rounds, that I think day 2 is still a big option for the Lions to get a wide receiver. And I think trading down, getting someone else, and then maybe getting a wide receiver still later in the first round, still possible.
No, I agree with Chris. It's a deep draft class. I don't foresee them spending big money on a wide receiver. If they were going to spend big, it would have been for Galladay. My thinking is, so guys like Allen Robinson, Juju Smith, he won't get as much probably as Galladay or Robinson, but I don't think they'll spend that 14, 15 plus on a wide receiver. They could go, at number 7. It's a possibility, but I don't think they're married to it or locked in. We really got to look at this thing. It's probably a 2-year situation. So the quarterback could come this year. It could come next year. Finding that top receiver, it could come this year. It could come next year. And then, like Chris said again, there's going to be some good talent at wide receiver day 2, even day 3. They just might go bargain basement with another Tyrell Williams type of signing, 6-7 million, draft a guy later, and utilize Hawkinson and Swift a lot more as being the focal points of the offense this season.
Can I ask you a question, Jeremy and Jerry, in return here? Unless you still want to keep talking about the draft, but I have something else question about what they can maybe do with the franchise tag.
Well, the one thing I want to add real quick is that
Yeah.
I think the Lions don't like to have themselves boxed in for the draft.
Yes.
So I think we're going to see them add at least a somewhat significant signing at the wide receiver position in free agency, whether it be, the Josh Reynolds signing that everyone has been predicting for months now, whether it be a guy, maybe they test the waters on Sammy Watkins. Again, he's got a connection to the Rams, probably comes at a somewhat discounted price since he's, battled through injury. Maybe he gets another chance to be a wide receiver 1. It's probably not in the cards for him in the future, but this is what the position the Lions are in right now. And that's why they signed, a guy like they did in Tyrell Jackson. It's just like they're taking chances on guys for 1 year, or Tyrell Johnson, sorry. They're taking chances on guys for 1 or 2 years that hey, maybe you guys have number 1 potential, maybe you don't, but we'll grab a bunch of you guys at 4, 5, 6, 7 million a year and see what we got, and then eventually draft a guy. And the thing is, like, this team is building for the future. And I've said this before, it doesn't matter what order the parts come in to me. So if it's a wide receiver this year at the 7th pick, yeah, go ahead and grab one. If it's a quarterback, go ahead and grab one. If it's a tight end, maybe. Offensive tackle, sure. Like, there's really no wrong answer at that 7th overall pick. And so, yeah, wide receiver is absolutely still on the table, but I think the Lions are going to do their due diligence to fill that need so that they don't have to rely on a rookie in year 1.
And to be clear, too, like, they're looking at letting more than just Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay walk, too. We've talked about this before, that you're probably losing Mohamed Sanu. You're probably losing, we'll have to see what happens with Jamal Agnew. But again, though, there's plenty of options out there. I see YouTube chat keeps bringing up Curtis Samuel as a potential name. I know I've talked in the past that I'd like to see someone like, say, Juju Smith-Schuster, who maybe wants to try to get another crack at reviving his career that didn't really take off in Pittsburgh. Or, there's plenty of options out there for you on this market, both in veteran and in guys who are basically their first half of their career just hasn't gone well and they want to try to get another crack at the apple.
Yep.
I like the Curtis Samuel one. He's kind of young. He was kind of relegated to the 3rd guy in Carolina last year behind Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. He's kind of a gadget guy, can play a few different positions. And he probably only would cost maybe around that 10, maybe I'm not good at guessing figures, but maybe 10 million or so. So he wouldn't break the bank, but like Jeremy said, that would be still a significant signing. That might fit the mold.
So let me ask you then on looking beyond this. So it does free up the Lions if they want to franchise tag someone, they can. They're not going to use it on Kenny Golladay now. So I guess I've seen some people ask, does this mean that they could potentially use the tag now on Romeo Okwara?
I mean, it'd be interesting. There's been almost no rumblings on it whatsoever, and the Lions have literally 3 hours to do it. But I mean, Brad Holmes did at one point say he likes what he offers in terms of a pass rush, and I think he even uttered the words like, "We'd like to have that back." And so it's an option. I think an edge rusher costs a lot more, and so you're talking about an even higher franchise tag number, which I'm not exactly thrilled about. I think you aim for a re-signing, a long-term potential deal with him, and now that you're not spending $16.4 million on a franchise tag, now they have that option to potentially do that, to have enough room, assuming they make some other cap clearing moves so that they can sign other free agents and obviously the draft class as well. But yeah, I do think this opens up the opportunity for Okwara to stick around. I kind of doubt he gets the franchise tag, or at least I hope he doesn't, unless the plan is simply to buy more time to come to that long-term deal. But I'd like to see Romeo Okwara back. I mean, the guy's only 25 years old and coming off a 10-sack season. So yeah, that's where I'm at with Okwara.
I'm kind of the same. I don't think it'd be a franchise tag. A franchise for a DN is about 18 million. It's like 17.7. Based off the 1 year that he had, he's been decent some of the other years. I don't think they'll go that route, but if they try to sign him to a 3-4 year contract, he's young, and you can kind of maneuver that money. When you sign those long-term deals, you can kind of maneuver the money where the cap hit isn't crazy this year. Come next year, who knows how we'll refigure things. We'll probably be in a better situation money-wise. So I definitely like to bring him back. I think when Holmes said, I think it was Holmes, not Campbell, when he said he wanted to bring back Golladay and Okwara, I feel like he was telling the truth. If it worked out, he could work something out with both those guys, he would. So in the case of Okwara, I think there is still interest there from the Lions, but probably a long-term deal over that franchise tag.
Yeah, I think he'd want a long-term deal too. And not to do market value is weird. I don't like saying this guy is only worth X or whatever, but definitely franchise tag money on Okwara might be a little out there. And as I said, it's it would cost more than a wide receiver to franchise an edge rusher. So yeah, I think though Okwara, he's not going to command Kenny Golladay interest on the open market.
Right.
And probably he knows it too. He just hasn't been consistent enough in his career so far. And so if the Lions like him, then I think they can still be competitive in what they offer Okwara long term. And again, long term works out for your rebuild too, because then again, you start backloading some of that money so you can have more cap space to play with in the immediate to resolve your issues.
Yeah, I think it all just comes down to how convinced you are that Romeo Okwara is what he was last year. Because, it's really only one breakout season from Romeo Okwara, and I know you can point it to 2018 where he had 7.5 sacks, but you kind of look closer on his actual production in that year. A lot of those were either cleanup sacks or he wasn't creating consistent pressure like he was last year. Now he's still not that elite pass rusher type where he's warranting double teams. He's got these crazy moves that no one can stop. He's just kind of like a gritty guy who muscles it out. And not to say he's not a refined pass rusher either. Like he's definitely looked like a more polished pass rusher last year than he ever has. But the question is, are you prepared? Like I said, pass rushers are valuable. There's a reason why the franchise tag is higher than it is for wide receiver. It's a valuable position. So signing him to a long-term deal, again, not a very easy decision. You're putting a lot of faith into 1 year's worth of tape, and assuming that will continue to grow. And I don't know. I'd like to see it because, again, I don't really like watching all these talented players leave. But at the same time, you might be able to finagle a 4th-round compensatory pick if you let him hit free agency. So the Lions could be stacking up compensatory picks, assuming they don't go buck wild in free agency. And I think someone in our chat was wondering, how did the compensatory formula work? Well, The actual details aren't really out there, but here's what it essentially boils down to. It's the players that you lose and how big their contracts are. So if a player you lose signs a monster contract, in theory, that's worth a compensatory third-round pick. However, if you sign someone else, a different free agency, let's say to a mid-round or mid-level deal, then maybe it drops it down to a fourth-round pick or maybe even a fifth-round pick. So it's a culmination of the people that you add and the people that you lose only to free agency. If you cut players, that does not factor into the compensatory pick formula at all.
Magical compensatory picks. Magic, Jeremy. NFL magic.
We're going to get like 5 of them anyway. Deuce Staley and Anthony Lynn and Aubrey Pleasant and Randall L. They're
Aubrey
all and Aaron Glenn Plaza. Oh, I call him Aubrey Pleasant. That's like a slip.
No.
I said Aubrey Plaza last night. He's jabbing me here.
Oh, okay. So I said it right.
You said it right.
You said it right. Yes. Don't let me throw that out.
But you only get compensatory picks if people poach minority candidates from you. You do not get them for hiring minority candidates.
Oh, I'm saying when they all become
when
head
they
coaches
go.
next
Yes.
year.
Okay.
When they go.
I hope
it's a foregone
they don't.
conclusion.
All right. I want to get to we're overdue to get to some of the chat stuff. So Eli G in YouTube saying that's why Jeremy is the GOAT. I think responding to Izzy777 saying Reisman has a good point. The only concern with Aquara is consistency. Warwick 19 in Twitch. Jerry, keep talking dirty to me. Let me find actual question though. Warwick 19 with an actual question. Marvin Jones, is he definitely out? I think so.
I have absolutely no expectation. So. I mean, everything he said, he wants to go get a ring. He seems very, very excited. Really, from December on to hit free agency. I think he feels like he put his dues in Detroit. Like he played on a contract that was probably under what he was worth. He put in the grit. I don't think he holds any ill will, but he's just like, all right, I put in the work. Now someone reward me for my efforts. And Detroit really can't do that.
Yeah. He's played with 2 teams that have gotten semi-close. His career is Bengals and Lions. I think at this point he wants to play with a team that might take him deep into the playoffs. Like guys, like I know we as fans probably don't, especially more analytical, probably don't like, we don't worry if a guy doesn't have a ring or not when looking at their career. But I think for these players, it's absolutely something they do care about because it does bring prestige, especially with a lot of normies out there.
Right. Doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. I don't think, even if this thing is only a 1-year rebuild or 2-year rebuild, I don't think any NFL rebuild should be that much longer than that. I just don't see him wanting to be a part of that.
No chance. Robo asks, no, that's not the one I want to ask. Dark Sniper asks, is Holmes the best available or draft for need GM? I mean, the answer is we don't know, but at this point in time, you have to imagine he's the best player available kind of guy. I mean,
there's so many holes on this
cupboard
team.
is bare.
Yeah,
there's so many holes in this team. It's stupid not to go BPA.
And if you haven't listened to him on the Huddle and Flow podcast, he said something pretty interesting that really makes it sound like he's the best player available. Maybe always, especially when you're in the top 10. He says, I don't think when you're picking this high that you can be out on any position, but obviously quarterback is such an important position. I think it's just good drafting business to always be very, very thorough of the quarterback class, regardless of what your situation is. So basically he's saying, when you're in the top 10, you need to know every single top 10 worthy prospect because you're trying to get a blue chip player, and it's not that important what position it's at because you just want the blue chip player when you have an opportunity to get a blue chip player.
Yep. Daniel Shmilov was asking, in your opinion, which is the best football player in the world? Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe, Lewandowski, Zlatan. I'm going to go Ronaldo. I'm just going rapid fire here real quick, just clear out the silly ones.
They're all tied because I don't know. They're all tied for first because I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's Messi for me as much as I love Ronaldo. Matt Byrne 5, Chris, easier to eat ramen or tacos while driving? Absolutely, it's tacos. I'm doing this just because I'm burning time for myself as I am looking for like the serious question.
Well, okay, let me run through some alerts while you're looking. Blue Mutt, thank you for the 2-month subscription here on Twitch. State Nate with the 3-month subscription, and Twerkin Gecko with the 3-month resubscription. Appreciate it. Love the username.
So I don't think the Tim Toon suggestion is serious.
No, probably not.
No. I just realized he hasn't been in the league for like
he's probably off with
years.
Jace Billingsley recording some sort of rap album somewhere.
Jace Winnemucca, nice.
Or just getting in the CBD business.
Maybe.
Yeah. I do want to bring this up. Not that it came up, but I saw some conversation on Twitch chat about Romeo Quara. Like he, as you say, might be overhyped, but I think some people are interested then in his brother Julian Okwara. I know it's kind of outside the purview of this emergency cast, but since we're on to questions, like, how do you feel about Julian kind of sliding into that, the same role, or a more advanced role, or where do you even see the future of Julian on this team?
I'm still intrigued by it. I mean, him and Austin Bryant, they're young. I know draft day, I think we were all together when Julian was picked. I think a lot of us were pleased. You look at his production at Notre Dame, he has a better pedigree than his older brother. He was considered possibly a second-round pick. You look at some of those metrics, his pass rushing grade and his pressures and things was pretty good. I think it was just like with the NFL, he's going to have to get a little bit bigger, bulk up, but I'm very much intrigued by him. And depending on if we're really just kind of stripping things down this year and Okwara, the older brother, doesn't come back, a rotation with him and Bryant getting some time, and we know Bryant hasn't been able to stay healthy. But if and I guess Okwara either so far in his NFL career, but a rotation of those two young guys getting a look opposite Trey Flowers, I'd be down with that.
Yeah, I think the plan is still to have him very much in the plans. We don't know what's in him, but in terms of like his athletic profile, it is what the lines are going to be looking for, and kind of that Rams-like front, in that he's got a ton of athleticism. He's a guy that can rush the passer. They're not as concerned about setting the edge or run defending or all that sort of stuff that the Matt Patricia era, players were obsessed with. So I think he fits in the team's plans. We just have to see what he's got, and at this point, we just don't know.
Kind of got a little bit of a Leonard Floyd type of build and skill set. So Floyd was over there with the Rams, so it might match up pretty good.
100%.
Yeah, I think this offense is going to kind of go more. Again, what we saw with the Rams when they went to the Super Bowl, or at least that's the stated goal. I would hope, like,
get to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
No. I mean, that'd be fantastic. But,
yeah. 2022.
But I'm more meaning how it's set up. Like, I mean, Jared Goff, I don't think he's going to have that season again that he had when they got to the Super Bowl. But I mean, look, he's going to have. You're going to have DeAndre Swift, and we'll see what they do on wide receivers. And I think they'll find wide receivers that are far more to his strength, that he can make, that are going to, you're going to get them in short yardage situations, medium yardage over the field, but you're going to prioritize probably guys who can really get you yards after completion.
Golden Tate, welcome back, baby.
I would love to see him come back. I don't think that's in the cards, but I love me some Golden Tate.
I mean, I think you're right, though. I think they're going to be looking for some sort of speedy option. I mean, we don't even know what the team's plans are for the slot position, because, I mean, they could be putting, what's his name, the rookie last year. You said his name before, and I forgot it. It's Quintessivus. Yeah, he can kind of be that big slot receiver type, but I think they want kind of a more speedy option. It's something that they've really been missing for a really, really long time. And, now that Golladay and Jones are likely headed out, those are two of their most athletic guys. So they need someone else to fill that role.
Yeah, and as Thick Boy is pointing out in Twitch chat, he says, that sounds a lot like Jalen Waddle.
Waddle. Or as my buddy Marvin says,
I like Waddle.
It's Agnew. I think we tried Jamal Agnew last year. I mean, maybe he catches on, but as a full-time slot, I doubt that's Agnew's future.
Yeah, you don't want to, if you're drafting a dedicated wide receiver like that, you probably want to put him on the outs. Like, if you want to get another like speedy slot guy, I mean, again, I guess you go 2 tight end set and get yourself a Kyle Pitts. But
he's not a tight end. He's
not a tight end. He's a magical fairy made of pixie
dust. It's an OW,
dust.
offensive weapon.
OW. I like that. Everyone's got to stop saying Allen Robinson coming to Detroit. He was born in Detroit. That's why he has Detroit versus everybody in his bio.
And it just wouldn't make sense either, right? Like, why would you spend all the money on Allen Robinson but not Kenny Golladay?
Yeah, he's going to want Kenny Golladay money.
Right. that
just as good, younger, a little bit younger.
yeah. I mean,
yeah, more proven.
Sure, but I don't even know if I would say more proven. Poor guy has never had a quarterback, but
I know, but I think from people I've talked to in like national media, they
think he's
Allen
better.
Robinson is definitely talked about more than Kenny Golladay.
He's had garbage quarterbacks his whole career and still has put up decent numbers too. You know?
Yeah, no, I do think Robinson is a better wide receiver. I'm just saying, like, even so, why not keep it in house? Like, why not you have a guy who wants to be here? You have a guy
exactly
that is maybe not as good as Allen Robinson, but certainly pretty damn close. And so to me, I think not franchising Kenny Golladay is not saying, hey, we don't like Kenny Golladay. It's, hey, we're not in a position to be spending this sort of money on a wide receiver right now. So going out and getting Allen Robinson makes no sense.
Yeah. From a financial standpoint, it makes no sense. Yeah. All right, guys, if you have any more questions for us, let us know. I know we are approaching the 40-minute mark, though. So
we'll probably close this up pretty soon and throw it up on Pride of Detroit. So if you missed any of it, you can go watch it there on replay.
Yeah, this probably won't show up on the podcast feed. I didn't really bring the recording bots into it, but I think we were going to keep this one short enough that we just like, you know what, well, this will just be some YouTube and Twitch exclusive content. We've been meaning to do more of that anyway. So
got to get another jersey, guys.
Oh, no, I didn't even notice. Here, I mean,
keep that one around though.
People always make fun of me for jersey cursing, but like, is there any Lions jersey that's ever truly safe at this point?
No. Well, Miles Killebrew.
Saw Miles
Killebrew.
Well, Don Milback.
Bring him back.
Don Milback is the only answer.
I saw an American Express. I saw American Express commercial where they give you jersey insurance now. So if your favorite team buy a jersey with American Express, they leave, they will buy you a new jersey. So Jeremy, I suggest you might want to look into that. I might do the same thing.
You're the move over, Alex Baldwin. You're the new spokesman for American Express.
I have been watching a lot of 30 Rock.
There was some star. I can't remember if it was an NBA star or an NFL star, but they were running like
Tate. It was basically Tate.
It was
rental.
Tate, the jersey rental.
Yep.
Yeah, the jersey rental for that exact reason too. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
rent a swag.
I don't rent a swag. I would never rent clothing. That's no.
That's a little icky, but I mean, Tate loves his business. I remember when I interviewed him way back, and he was on the body armor. That body armor trip before we all knew what body armor was. So yeah, hey, I mean, Warwick 19. Do you guys think Adrian Peterson and or Carry On are back, or are they going out of house? I think Adrian is gone. I think Peterson's gone.
Peterson.
I know that his appearance on TMZ holding up the Tom Brady jersey saying he'd like to go to Tampa Bay was a bit of a joke, was half a joke, but that's where he's at in his career right now. He wants to go get it's the one thing he doesn't have in his career is a ring.
Has he even gotten close? I don't know if he's ever gotten close.
No.
Like Minnesota, I don't think ever. I mean, obviously they've never been to a Super Bowl,
but they no.
No, he got traded from the Saints very quickly
to Washington. Yes,
right.
Yeah, so that really he's never been close. So I feel like everyone
was he on that team with Favre that went to the NFC Championship against the Saints, Minnesota team.
I think he was.
Maybe.
He might
have been as close
as sounds.
Bounty Gate season.
Yeah, someone in the chat just said he was on the team that lost to the Saints. So there you go, good call. But as for Carry On, like he's still under contract, and the thing that still sticks out to me, and I can't remember if it was Deuce Staley or the offensive coordinator who said it, but he says if you're a running back that can't block, you're not on my team. Well, Carry On Johnson got a whole lot better at blocking last year in terms of pass protection.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the best.
Yeah, yep. I think he stays on the team. I don't know. The question is he RB2? And I don't know the answer to that because, I mean, I think I'm still kind of holding out hope that, you know, he can be at least a fraction of what they drafted him for. But I'm also kind of realistic in seeing like, well, it hasn't happened yet, so I don't know if it's going to happen soon.
I think he's going to become the dedicated blocker, change of down back, and like not even change it down back. He's just going to be your dedicated blocker, and when you've got a goal line stand, he's going to be the one to punch the ball in.
Yeah,
just to use him as that big body up there. Basically, what you were using Adrian Peterson for last year, except it made a whole hell of a lot more sense to use it with Carry On Johnson.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think they do bring in someone to be that second ball carrier, like you guys said.
Yeah. And Anthony Lynn did say, as Thick Boy 71 says in our chat, he did say something to the effect of, yeah, we're looking for someone to help round out the running back room. So I don't know if he was clear that was going to be RB2 or RB3, but I mean, they're definitely going to add someone. The question is how many resources are they going to push into that? Is it going to be a true number 2? Are they going to try, as this team has every single year, to plug like a big back, the next LeGarrette Blount, Adrian Peterson, whoever I'm forgetting, just Rolodex of players like that. Hopefully they find someone that sticks, or I don't know. I like Carrion a lot. He's an entertaining dude, and I think it says a lot to his character that he, kind of put his ego aside. A guy that, was drafted with the expectation of being an RB1, getting 15, 20 carries a game. He decides he goes out and works his ass off to be a third down back, which is one of the most unglorious positions for a running back, which is just like, you're not touching the ball, you're not getting yards, you're not scoring touchdowns, you're blocking big linebackers who are bigger and faster and stronger than you. That sucks. And he took it on.
That. Yeah. Even some of his interactions on Twitter, some people have, kind of tried to make fun of him for his new role. He seems balanced with it, man. Hey, this is the job I'm given right now, and I'm rolling with it. I agree. I take my hat off to him because he's probably envisioning being a feature back.
Yep. So, to go to Oraflux, Swift is RB1 guaranteed. Absolutely. Like, this entire staff is very high up on Swift. And I would say that if we're still picking wide running backs high, then we've got a problem. Like, Swift has shown you everything that he's got in his rookie year. You have to roll with him and see what you've got for this year. Nick Slick 805. Chris, what do you think of Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles? I haven't been yet.
Are you kidding me?
I am not. You know what the problem was is that I started going to Howlin' Ray's instead.
That's a whole different thing.
No, it is, but you can get country style chicken there, and on Sundays they do chicken and waffles as well. Although I don't know if I'd wait 3 hours for chicken and waffles there. I'll just say that.
Was that long of a wait to get something there?
Oh my God, it is like we lined up one time on Sunday at 10 in the morning, and we got in there at like 12:30. It's probably the most insane wait in all of LA, and there's some insane waits out here. But the hot chicken, the Nashville hot chicken, is worth it. Sorry, I'm trying to find real quick. Cronetics, will you guys be doing a mock draft anytime soon?
Yeah, I can take that one. In the very near future, maybe after the first week of free agency, we will plan on doing a weekly mock draft here on Twitch and YouTube, where you guys will be able to interact. We'll have like a mock draft simulator up, and we'll all make picks together. Maybe we'll run through a couple different scenarios together, just to kind of mix things up, get to know some prospects, and hopefully have a rotating cast of POD characters as well, so that we can get a bunch of differing opinions from those people. And then, we'll eventually, probably not myself because I never write mock drafts, but probably someone on our staff will do a written one as well.
Yep. Well, we are around the 45-minute mark, so any final thoughts, takes, or questions you guys want to get out? We've got time for like probably one more before we should ace this.
You want to do favorite Kenny Golladay memory? Are we already at that point where we just have to reminisce at this point?
Yeah, I like that one. I got one in mind.
All right, go for it.
I have a bad memory, so I'll leave that to you guys.
His first game of his career was against the Arizona Cardinals. He had a really good preseason. I was a big Kenny Golladay fan even when they drafted him, because I think I watched one game where he kind of when he was with Northern Illinois, he torched the Buckeyes. I'm like, this guy's pretty good. So his name kind of popped in my mind. So when we drafted him, I was happy. I was at the game. The whole game experience was cool. Some type of way I ended up with like second row seats, but I won't drag it on. But just to see him score those 2 touchdowns that first game, it was pretty cool. That'd definitely be my top moment.
That diving touchdown catch that he had, where he was like full extension, that was my background on my iPad. It might still be my background for my iPad for like the longest time. I was just like, that got me, is just like, dude, this guy's for real. Like, I'm not ready to call him Babytron, and I never will be. But man, like if there was a time where I was close to accepting the Babytron label, it was in that exact moment right there.
Yeah, I see Thick Boy in chat saying the toe tap catch against the Chiefs is a great one.
That is a good one.
LJ Baroof asking, did we find out the terms of the Collins restructure yet? No, we have not. That is probably coming in the next few days to figure out what exactly went on there.
Yeah, I will say there is it's up on Spot Track, but we can't confirm it. And so we talked a little bit about it on the podcast last night. So if you haven't listened to that yet, go listen to it. So we talk about what if that's correct, what it basically means. Which, long story short, real quick, they have it as 3 voided years, which would save the Lions, I think, just over $6 million this year, and then spread it out over the next 4 years.
Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just kind of slaloming through the questions from Twitch now, since we got a little bit of time. Any chance you know when the Locker Room app becomes available on Android? Trust me, I've asked them because I have an Android phone and I'm actually kept out of the Locker Room streams because of that. But it is a small development team, so for right now it's just iOS. We don't know when they're
I think
on Android.
I think they also might be trying to work on a PC app.
It should be fantastic.
So keep an eye out on that as well.
Yeah. Or a Flux, will we ever see someone at Megatron's level again? What do you think, Jerry?
It's impossible to predict. I don't know.
So hard. I mean, Hall of Famer. I mean, in 20, 30 years, maybe it's hard seeing those guys come around. So if I had to just lean on one answer, I say no.
Yeah, he was a physical. And it's not even just like his skill too, just physical specimen plus skill together. That's a hard, for any team, for any sport, that is a hard blueprint to replicate and print over and over.
I will say this. I'm pretty sure Calvin Johnson has kids. I don't know if he has a son, but if there's a chance of there being an ex-Calvin Johnson, it's coming from that bloodline.
No,
exactly.
Because I didn't hold out hope when Joe Montana had a kid playing quarterback either. And where's Frank Gore's kid? Did he?
He's probably
His
in a
kid's probably like
retirement
30
home.
Though. Let's see.
This kid is the head coach somewhere. Some team.
Yeah. Kenny to the Colts. I mean, that's a good potential landing spot. I saw some people suggesting Giants as well, to Danny Dimes. And Jerry was saying earlier Jacksonville, which I think makes a lot of sense, bringing in a good wide receiver like that to just be a weapon right away for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Apex Predator dropping us $5 on Super Chat. Good work as always, guys. And by the way, you were right, Jeremy. I am a he.
Okay.
We got that resolved. That's good. We got the pronouns.
I don't like to make assumptions.
Mm-hmm. And I had one more note here. Robo 1207. Better odds we sign Josh Reynolds or Gerald Everett?
I mean, pick your poison at that point.
They both have a good realistic shot of landing here. So
50-50. I'm giving you a very dissatisfying answer with the 50-50 shot.
Sorry.
Yeah, Warwick 19. Can we franchise Don Mule back? Why would you? Like, he's just going to keep signing here.
Just perpetually on 1-year deals. All right. If we're getting to franchising Don Mule back, I think it's probably time.
No, I wanted to get us to the 50-minute mark, and we just hit it.
There we go.
We are ready to get out of here. Thank you guys on YouTube and on Twitch. Everyone who's been, you guys have been fantastic this stream. We're going to have more for you in the coming days. Just, if you see news pop up like this on your ESPN app or your CBS Sports app or whatever, guess what? You can almost guarantee you can check over to our Twitter feed. And if Jeremy is saying emergency podcast, we're going to be on here. Might not always be on the podcast stream, but it'll be an emergency live stream. We'll take your questions. We'll, break down the news. We'll have our revolving cast of POD staff people who are all lovely and delicious and awesome. And for myself, for Jeremy, for Jerry, let me get these tags right. Jerry Mallory NFL on Twitter. Follow him there. He's got always the best takes. He's got the smoothest, best takes around. Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online, and basically the one who's writing nearly everything you see on Pride of Detroit. And myself, Chris Perfett, the adequate host of the Pride of Detroit POD cast, which stands for the Pride of Detroit podcast because of POD, the first 3 letters, also the first 2 letters. You know, at Chris Perfett.
Not the band?
No.
Not the band POD?
No. As much as I think there is a POD cast about the band, but
I mean,
anyway,
Dan Campbell may prefer that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe we'll
Today's
find me
episode,
on-
we break down Youth of a Nation.
We find me on Twitter at Chris Perfett, Perfett. And always, we'll see you guys Starside. Be back here soon enough. Thank you guys for tuning in.
And thanks for we hit 300 subs again. Well done, everybody.